Which of these rooms look more organized to you? The left one or the right one? How about now? And now, if you chose the left one every time, what you respond to isn't minimalism. There's one design trick that architects use a lot, while decorators kind of overlook, that makes a room feel calmer and instantly more organized, and that is alignment to the architecture. Let me show you. This video has essentially two parts. First, I'll explain why your brain prefers alignments to architecture. And the second part, I will show you how I am applying this rule in the design of my own workspace, which I am currently working on. So let's get into it. You often hear that organization starts with decluttering, but actually it starts much earlier. It starts with the geometry. Our brains are wired to look for coherent systems. When furniture aligns with the architecture, with the walls, the ceiling lines, the edges of the niches or protrusions, everything becomes easier to read. On the other side, when various furniture pieces stop short of the walls, small gaps appear. Now, our eyes need to process all this. Wall, gap, cabinet, gap, wall. Each gap creates another edge. It also creates another outline, a second frame inside the frame. So the eye sees two outlines instead of one. This generates an internal microtension because the environment looks more crowded and our brain has to process more. But when a cabinetry reaches the walls, it reinforces the room's original contour. There's only one boundary, not more. And when the boundary is clear, the space feels resolved and simpler for our mind to process. Instead of separate objects floating within a room, the wall reads as a single unified surface. Therefore, alignment to the architecture doesn't just organize objects, it organizes attention. And when attention is organized, the space feels simple, contained, and calm. Alright, so how do I apply this idea into my own workspace? Let's have a look at the room I want to design. It has 2 double doors and 3 windows on this side. Because this room extends beyond the building's original footprint, 2 structural columns project into the space, creating a frame on each wall. Now I have a pretty strong frame made by this column and the wall right here. In episode 9, when I made the floor plan sketch, I said I wanted a wall-mounted table in this area. There are, of course, many ways I can illustrate this idea. A surface like this on the floor plan, it could indeed be a table, but it could also be the top surface of a cabinet or the surface of a bench. A 3D design also helps me make up my mind. Let's check some furniture online that could come close to this vision. So let's say I go to IKEA and pick some standard cabinets and try to line them up until the maximum length is reached. I could, for example, take modular cabinets like IKEA Besta system and combine a 2-compartment unit with a 3-compartment unit. Technically, it fills most of the wall, but it also stops short of the edges, specifically 48 centimeters shorter. I get more or less the same results when I'm using the Besta 1-compartment unit. Or I can try the mom unit. It offers much more storage, but it is still short of 28 centimeters. Or maybe I could try Nordly. I like the proportions of this one better, but it's also short by 28 centimeters. What about the areas above the cabinets? Perhaps some shelves? I could add some Besta shelves in a funky pattern. What is happening here? I have the contour of my niche and I'm spotting 2 or possibly 7 elements floating around. Or I can use simpler shelves. Again, they look like 2 islands floating in this composition. Or if I want to simplify this further, I can place 2 standard shelves over my cabinets. This composition looks a lot simpler due to the large negative space around the shelves. But again, it feels like these items are floating on the wall. I can sense the edges around this composition, I can see the edges of the cabinets below, and I can sense the edges of my frame. Our head needs to process a lot of edges. Now let's compare this with furniture that expands to the edges of the frame, my column and the wall on the right. Perhaps I am able to make a DIY element that compensates for the 28 centimeters left And now my cabinet extends from one end to the other of my frame. See how it suddenly blends into the background? Before, the frame and the cabinet were two separate items, and now they are one. Or perhaps I am able to find one or multiple off-the-rack cabinets that are exactly the length that I need. Or, with a copious amount of patience and time, I am able to DIY the entire cabinet myself in the exact length that I need. Do you see the difference? It seamlessly blends with the wall and it gives your mind less to decipher. I also said that I would like to add a pegboard here, so I'm placing a surface made of 3 equal parts. I don't want to go into the details of how it should look like right now, but I'm definitely going to do more details about it later. Again, I'm choosing to make it wall to wall, and it has the same effect as blending with the wall. I'm thinking of adding some shelves over the pegboard, and my choice again is wall to wall. I'm just going to put the other images side by side with this one. See the difference? In one composition, your brain perceives multiple elements, while in the other, just one. I can create a sense of order and organization from the start with the furniture, not later on with decluttering. I would say that organization doesn't start with storage boxes. It starts with respecting the room itself. When furniture obeys the architecture, the room feels simpler, calmer, and more intentional. When it ignores the architecture, it feels slapdash and temporary. When you design furniture to match your space, instead of forcing your space to accept whatever furniture you find, the entire room shifts. Because alignment doesn't just organize objects, it organizes attention. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see the rest of the videos from my Workspace Redesign series, click here.